I'm Kitty Feldy, and welcome to this month's edition of the Book Club of the Air for Young Adults. As always, we broadcast from the downtown LA Library. Usually the first Wednesday of the month is when you'll find us down here if you want to come down and watch us shoot. Today, we have quite a contingent from Foothill Middle School coming to watch us today. And I suppose that's appropriate because joining us to talk about our book this month, The Shades of Simon Gray, are a trio of 8th graders from Foothill Middle School. Here with us is Christine Shen. Nice to see you, Christine.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Also, Jacqueline Yu. Nice to see you as well.
Nice to see you too.
And Ashley Thomas. Thanks for being here too.
You're welcome.
We always like to talk a little bit about the book. It's by Joyce McDonald, by the way. So let's start off, Jacqueline, with you. Why don't you talk a little bit about the title?
Well, the shades of Simon Gray, I believe, pertains to the shades of his character. Like on the outside, to most people, he appears to be the perfect poster boy son, you know, perfect grades, a computer expert, but underneath there's more to him than just that. He is involved in a complicated plot in the book, you know, involving hacking and the like. All to please a girl he loves.
Well, let's go a little bit further with the plot, Ashley, so we know a little bit about Simon. What else is going on in this book?
Well, he we think he deliberately ran his car into the Liberty Tree and is now in a coma. And what's really weird is that he somehow has a connection with some man named Jessup Wilderman, I think. Yeah, and he was hung hung on the Liberty Tree for murder, although he didn't do it. The woman he fell in love with did. But while he is in a coma, they take his computer, thinking they might find some information about the hacking. And his friends are very worried, but they find out that they don't get caught in the end. They don't get caught. The teacher, Mr. McCabe, gets convicted of that. So,
well, he gets convicted for something else he was doing.
For something else, yes.
That he shouldn't have been doing. And this murder that happened, it didn't just happen yesterday.
No, it happened 200 years ago.
So this takes place in a place where they actually had history 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Someplace on the East Coast?
New Jersey, I think.
New Jersey. There we go. Let's talk a bit, Christine, about the characters in this
Well,
book.
Simon, the main character, he's a smart, mysterious intellect. He's, you know, mainly keeps to himself. He's a really, you know, computer geek. But mainly, as she said, that they're involved in this this project that's mainly, you know, cheating at school. And so I think Simon is a mainly confused character that's brought up in an environment filled with, you know, he learns that the importance of honesty. But then he goes to school and he meets all these peers that grew up in a different environment that, you know, relates to cheating, relates to, you know, webs of deceit. And so it influences him to do other things, and as she said, mainly for this woman that he loves. So he does things that normally his environment, you know, goes against.
So let's talk about this woman who's leading him down the wrong path. What's she like? What's her name?
Her name's Devin, and she's sort of a person that, you know, her environment leads her the wrong path too, especially with the kids she meets at school. Her boyfriend's named Kyle, and he's a person that lives his life mainly on cheating and deceit, and mainly his thinking is you can't succeed without cheating. So I think Devin's really influenced by that. And then, but when she meets Simon, you know, she sees a different point of view. She knows that he loves her, but, you know, she's sort of confused. And, you know, towards the end of the book, she learns a lot, and it changes her point of view.
Is Kyle, do you guys think Kyle is too much of a, you know, we always talk about characters maybe being black and white, but do you think he's too much, not enough shades of gray, I guess we could say. Do you think he's lacking in depth compared to the other characters? Christine?
It might have to do with his background or his old family life, but I think inside that character, you know, there is some feeling down there. It's just that there's so many things going on, especially pressure with parents and school, you know, so much pressure in a kid's life, especially in teen years. So he might feel pressure to, you know, cheat, and that's the only way to survive or succeed, as he puts it.
Jacqueline, did you think he was a fully rounded character? Were you satisfied with the writer's work?
Kyle. of Kyle, I think he is kind of a plain person without much personality, but underneath his mask, which I consider to be, he must have something else to him instead of just a boring old, straightforward mind.
Okay, so you see more depth than might be just seen by somebody who casually reads this. Ashley, talk a little bit about the other girl character in this book, Liz.
Liz is Simon's best friend, and the night before, she seems to really like him more than just friends. It seems like she has stronger feelings for him than he does for her, and I don't think she's jealous, but she might have hard feelings towards Devin because Simon is in love with Devin, and she is always there for him while he was in the hospital, and she really loves him, and it's kind of sad to see that he doesn't see that.
You spoke a little bit, Christine, about the pressure that these students are feeling to get into a good college, to get the perfect grades, to have all of that outside stuff. It sounds like you maybe identified a little bit with that kind of pressure.
Yeah, there are a lot of times where, it's not only school, but it's mainly parents that, you want to live up to be what your parents are, And then there's the whole deal with other kids, living up to what they are, and there's so many expectations of teachers and then older grandparents and so on that they talk about, older generations where there's so many different kinds of things to be thinking about as a child.
Like what?
Well, school's one, for instance, but another one is just, I think it's about morals, These kids are cheating, but I think really inside, they don't really like their life. Like Devin, as towards the end of the book, she realizes that she really didn't like what she was doing. She was expected to a really great college, but she refused and said, I think I should go to a community college because she really believed that what she did was wrong. So,
Jacqueline, a lot of people think that in 8th grade, you really shouldn't have these kinds of pressures that a lot of seniors, you think about seniors in high school being under all this kind of pressure. Are you finding that it's tough these days to be a middle schooler and looking forward to trying to get into college?
Yeah, I think it is rather tough with all those expectations about what college you're going to go to, but I think it's best to be worrying about them a bit earlier than in your senior year, because by then it might be a bit late to change anything that could be changed if you were told in 8th grade.
So you feel you're getting enough information right now in middle school to prepare yourself for high school and thereafter?
Yes.
Yeah. Ashley, are you nervous at all? I mean, are you feeling pressure, academic pressure to do perfectly so you can get into a good college and please everybody in the world?
Yeah, a lot of parents like my own put a lot of pressure on their kids, If not always, but I get pretty good grades, and every time I'll slip up or something, it's like the end of the world has come, and that, it's such a bad thing that I got, a B- or a C+ on a test, and it's kind of sad to see the look on your parents' face when you tell them, oh, well, I didn't do too good on this test, and they give you that look like, well, why not? It makes you feel really bad, like you haven't done what they wanted you to do.
Who else puts pressure on you guys? Besides parents?
I think other peers and siblings, especially with siblings if they're older. Yeah, because if they do really well and then, you're pressured to do exactly like they did. And it's really hard when, they take one road that you don't really want to take. So it's really hard that parents expect you to be just like them, and, it's hard to live up to.
So I take it you're a middle kid.
Right.
Yeah. How about you, Jacqueline? Where are you in the pecking order?
I'm the oldest, and I think besides the expectations from the parents, there are some that come from yourself. Like you'll think yourself, I should have done better. I could do better than this. There's ambition in one's own mind.
I wonder where that comes from.
From my parents, most likely.
It always gets back to them.
Yeah.
Ashley, who else is putting pressure on you guys?
Probably our other peers, and like if they look up to you, you have friends that look up to you, or your younger siblings even. If you don't do something right, you feel like, you've gone the wrong way for them, and if you do something right, it's really good to see that they they are like amazed and they look up to you and they say, wow, I wish I could do that like you, or something like that. That makes you feel really good.
Yeah, I was the oldest in my family, and I think my brothers all still hate me for being perfect. You know, of course we were, right? Not quite. What about this idea about cheating? Some studies say that, I was surprised at how high the number is when they ask people, have you ever cheated ever? I'm not going to ask you that, but let's talk about other people. The numbers were very high, that I think it was almost half of kids they asked or more admitted that they had cheated at some point in time, which surprised me. What about you?
Yeah, I think it really surprised me too. But as I look around my school, you know, Foothills, I go about each day, and in the morning, at lunchtime, I look around and I notice there's a lot of people that have great intentions of not cheating, but it goes back to the pressures and doing well. And I think a lot of it also has to do with bringing up, you know, your environment, your childhood. A lot of it has to do with the parents, but like the characters in this book, like if you're a character like Kyle, then you know you're brought up to be cheating. Otherwise, a different character would be Simon. You know.
So he had a stronger sense of moral values that are there. Jacqueline, what about, I mean, have you encountered a lot of cheaters in your academic career so far?
Not quite. Rather small ones, like, you know, if there's someone who has a test before them, they might say, was this on the test?
Yeah.
Or something.
Not
but
quite cheating, that's sort
nothing
of
major.
Intelligence, I think. So, but you're not, nobody's kind of eyes wandering and seeing what's on somebody's pin. No.
I've never seen that.
Ashley?
Actually, it doesn't surprise me. I'll sometimes finish a test quickly and read and look around the room at people, and it actually quite surprises me in some of my classes that a lot of people have wandering eyes, and they're checking out other people's tests, and then, you know, they try to make it seem like they're not, but I see quite a lot of people doing it.
What about the cheating in this book, though? This is pretty elaborate, the scheme that they come up with. Is that something you suspect is more fiction than fact, or a rare occurrence, or more often than we think?
Well, yeah, I was pretty surprised with how, you know, tricky this business was with Simon and all these computers downloading tests, but I figured that, you know, in a high school like this, first of all, we're in middle school and they're in high school.
Yeah.
So
they're more evil in high school?
Yeah, well, with intelligence comes, you know, knowing more about how to cheat.
That makes more sense.
That happens. But I think that they're really sly and, you know, they're devious, so, you know, other kids, you know, probably wouldn't know about that.
Yeah. This sort of is a side thing going on in this book. The grandmother of Devon, that's whose grandmother is in the hospital right now, with West Nile virus. Now, when this book was written, West Nile had not arrived in California, but boy, that's been in the news like crazy this year. Would you guys have some thoughts about the West Nile section of this book?
I think it really helps Devon figure things out. I mean, she has this really big turmoil at school with the cheating, and then she was hit with this problem with her grandmother. So I think one of the greatest reasons that this was put in the book was, one of the things that really hit me was this county, this town, has this really big, you know, drawback with the hanging of Jester Boldemir, and then all these problems happened with the West Nile virus, and then with plagues. So when Devon's hit with it, she's realizing that, you know, this isn't just happening to the county, it's happening to personally me. Mm-hmm. So I think she thinks about how her life is, how it's reacting to the whole county, you know, how it's affecting other people.
So dramatically, that worked pretty well for you to use that West Nile.
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts? Because of course you guys are in the San Gabriel Valley, where there's been a couple of West Nile cases. Did it make you a little nervous, or wear long sleeve shirts going outside, or have second thoughts? Or no, you're not at all. You're not worried at all about this.
Yeah, the chances are pretty slim. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we like to put that out there. Let's talk a little bit about the plagues, if you will. Oh, and I hear a cell phone. As we remind you, we have an audience today, and I should have warned everybody, turn your cell phone on to vibrate or off, please, because otherwise people are going to be sitting at home and the cell phone's going to go off and they're going to know it's theirs, and they're going to have to go find it, and they're going to leave the television set and they won't come back. So we don't want them to do that. So we'll have them turn it off. There's a whole bunch of things that happen. It's not just West Nile virus. A whole lot of plagues happen in this particular book, Jacqueline?
Yeah, there was the plague of frogs, which seemed to, or peepers, which seemed to attract the crows, which first arrived that time after Jessup Wildermuir was hung unrightfully. And I believe that the crows and the frogs were put here by fate. They were supposed to sort of lead Simon into having a crash, and then, you know, so when he was in the coma, he could find out the truth about Jessup, and then you know how the crows helped to force him to climb the tree back to the top and back into the living, was to let him come back alive and show the world how they were wrong about him.
Actually, why else do you think they had, that the writer Joyce McDonald included this whole series of various kinds of plagues?
I think she put that in to like show how different like the plagues can be around the same time. How like how one plague can lead to another. Like the frogs led to the crows, and the crows led to the mosquitoes. I thought it was kind of cool that she put it in there to show us like how they differ.
Do you think it was, I want to say, hyper reality? In other words, something that wouldn't really happen, but in literature sometimes we make it more dramatic, or we create things for a dramatic purpose. Where do you think this falls in that?
I think she put it in there for like a dramatic purpose. I don't think the frogs and the crows would really come when he was in a coma, but I think she just put it in there to make it seem more dramatic.
For what purpose do you think? I mean, why? Just to make us keep reading and wonder what's going to happen next, or
maybe to make us think, look more at how different things affect different plagues, maybe.
Christine, what about, of course, the Old Testament story about Moses, you know, and the Pharaoh and all of those curses? Mm-hmm. It's not exactly a direct analogy, but where is the similarity and where is it different, do you think?
One similarity I found was that the Egyptians held the Jews in captive. So that was pretty unfair for the Jews, but also the county was being unfair about what really happened to Jessup Wildermuir. So the book unravels how Simon figures out he's really innocent, and that, you know, he was blinded into thinking that he was guilty, so he was hanged. But the county, you know, the whole town doesn't really know that. And even if people did, they don't really want to, you know, express their feelings about it. I think the whole town is involved with other people, and, you know, if they know something, they're afraid people will think they're weird, or, you know, they will be persecuted for it. So, you know, everything's kept silent about it.
So you think that the plague is basically upon the town for keeping its mouth shut?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about comparing this to the Old Testament story about the plagues and the correlation? Good choice, bad choice by the writer? We've decided it's a pretty good choice then by the writer, I guess.
Right.
Let's talk a bit about rewriting history, because this is about present day and it's about past day. And who gets to tell the stories? I mean, how did we end up with the story that everybody bought, why Jessup was hung? How did the town end up with that story? Do we know?
Hannah Dobler, the woman that Jessup loved, was the one who murdered her own father, and then she ran off with Jessup, who tried to comfort her, and then I guess she didn't want to have any guilt on her hands or get in trouble, so she went and told everyone that it was Jessup who murdered the father, and she was trying to stop him, which explained all the blood on her shirt. So
we got one woman's story that lasted through the ages, and everybody bought it, and it made the town feel okay about it because they felt it was a justified hanging. And yet it's Devon, right? Or is it Liz that finds the...
Liz.
It's Liz who finds the journal that tells a different story. And yet she's even afraid to come forward with the story. Why?
I think it's a lot to do with if people are going to, you know, look upon her and judge her by the way she found the information. And it's so different, you know, it's so contrasting with the whole town believes that she'll be, you know, I think she thinks she'll be an outcast, and it's just so radical an idea that she was really nervous about it.
It was an interesting assignment that the teacher came up with for that class. Talk a little bit about that. Ashley?
I guess the teacher wanted somebody in the, like someone in the revolutionary time, but I think it was Liz who actually picked the topic to research Jessup Wildermuir, thinking it was going to be easy to find. But as she continued searching, she found out that it was very hard, and she was about to give up before, but at the last minute she found that diary, and that really helped her with her assignment.
But the assignment was even more than just look up for something in history. It was something more specific that I thought was kind of an intriguing idea. Do you remember, Jacqueline, what the teacher was looking for?
I believe she wanted the students to find accurate information and verify anything that was false and make sure they got everything that was true.
And actually to argue a different point, to come to a different conclusion with different kinds of research. And so can you think of anything that maybe you learned as a kid one way, and as you've gotten older, you've discovered either different truths or more complicated truths or different versions of history or anything else?
Well, my grandparents were always fussing about how adults are always right and children are never, so they might as well listen. But adults do make mistakes sometimes, and children could be right, so we're not that much inferior to the adults.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good life lesson to carry with you. That's right. That's right. What else? Anything else just in general in history, things you've learned in class that you've learned that were different than what you learned maybe in grammar school? Ashley? I see your brain working, but
I'm thinking, but I mean, when I was little, like, I didn't understand the president campaigning and stuff, but as you got older, you understand different things. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about the writing style of this book. I forgot that this book was set in the springtime, because I remember when I read the book that it had sort of a Halloween-y feel about it. So talk a bit about the creepiness factor. Was it, I don't know, scary, creepy? Tell me what you thought about it.
I think the plague definitely added to that. You know, it begins the book as, you know, these peepers, there are frogs flying out, and then, you know, it's a dark, mysterious night, and Simon slips out of his house to the pond. And I actually think the pond is a great place for the kids to think. You know, people go there if they're worried or, you know, anxious about something. So the pond is definitely a place that, you know, feels a sort of solemn, calm place, and he goes there to think, and, you know, it adds to the, you know, silent, mysterious part of the story.
Okay. Anything else that added or took away from the atmosphere that Joyce McDonald was trying to create? Jacqueline?
There was the fact that when he was driving, he saw this shadow around the tree, which he afterwards believed to be Wildermuir's soul that stood there for 200 years. And that kind of changed the tone and made it seem like it was happening around Halloween.
Yeah, I guess because we always associate dead people and ghosts with that time of year. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you've like pinpointed when the writer decided, I need to let my readers know that this is more than just a regular story. It's kind of a creepy ghost story. Liked the book? Hated the book? Ashley?
I actually really liked the book. I liked the way she gave great detail about the different plagues, and great detail about the characters, and how she came up with the idea of him talking to someone else in a coma. That was really good, and I thought that she had a lot of detail about like everything in the book, and I really enjoyed reading it.
Christine, Jacqueline, who liked it?
I really liked it too, because I thought it related to a lot of the, you know, kids right now, today in the world. And I really liked how she helped Simon realize where he was at his present time because of Jessup. You know, they were really similar. They both made mistakes because of a woman they loved. And I loved the comparison and the way he found out after he was blinded by Devon.
And Jacqueline?
I like the symbolism in the story. For example, when Simon was starting to climb the tree, he felt a good deal of pain, and he knew he could stop the pain and go into grayness, shades of gray, which would be death. But instead he chose to climb on to awakening again and living, because he figured it's better to live, even if at the risk of getting in trouble, than to not live at all.
And I guess that's the moral of the book, after all. The book is called it's called Shades of Simon Gray, and it's by Joyce McDonald. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Gosh, it's Christine Shen, Jacqueline Yu, and Ashley Thomas. All of you guys 8th graders at Foothill Middle School, and we want to thank our crowd for coming out today as well. Remember, you can always catch us here on the Book Club of the Air, and if you want to be on the show, just send us an email to bookcluboftheair@cs.com, and we'll see you again next month. I'm Kitty Feldy. Thanks a lot.